Dear friends, welcome to this session of discussion of chemistry paper of NEET 2016. We are going to discuss this paper NEET 216 chemistry part. Now regarding this paper, one remark will be the distribution of questions for first year and second year plus 2, plus 1 and plus 2 is not actually uniform. Out of 45 questions, we generally expect roughly 50-50, 50% from first year, 50 from second year. But in this paper, almost 2/3 question is actually coming from second year. They have given more importance. Only 1/3 from first year. Roughly that is it. But they have kept actually the overall division almost the same. In the sense, they have actually given about 15 questions from physical chemistry. Out of 45, 1/3. 15 from inorganic chemistry and almost the remaining 15 from organic chemistry. That part is okay. But first year, second year, division is not uniform. That's all. There is no rule that the question should be equally divided. And very many cases, what we see is second year is given more important. And they have adhered to that particular pattern in this paper also. Now regarding the degree of difficulty, almost 15 questions are very easy, 1/3 questions are very easy. 4 or 5 questions, they are difficult. Actually, they are difficult, and the remaining will be moderate. And to be precise, 2 questions are strictly out of syllabus. That is, topic is not coming under the purview of plus 2. 2 questions are there. When we read that question, I will tell you which that question is. This much regarding the general nature of the paper. But your attitude should be, whenever you find a difficult question which you have not studied, don't worry about it. You simply ignore that question, that's all, even without attempting. These 2 or 3 questions which are difficult, you can actually score very high mark. That's the way you proceed. Don't lose the confidence. Now let us start. Question number 1. Hot concentrated sulfuric acid in these reactions. The sulfuric acid actually can act as oxidizing agent, then dehydrating agent, and so many other ways. So in this question, we are actually going to examine property of sulfuric acid. What is the question actually? In one of the reaction, sulfuric acid is not acting as a oxidizing agent. That is the idea. Very simple it is, because when it acts as an oxidizing agent, definitely it itself will be reduced to sulfur dioxide, and the other element with which it is reacting will be oxidized. So in this case, there is sulfur dioxide formation showing sulfuric acid is getting reduced. But third case also, SO2 is formed when sulfuric acid is reduced. So that should be acting as oxidizing agent. Here also there is sulfur dioxide, and this SO2 is actually appearing from sulfuric acid. So when sulfuric acid is getting reduced, it means it is acting as oxidizing agent. But such a thing is not appearing in this second option, calcium fluoride plus sulfuric acid, calcium sulfate plus 2HF. So it's a very simple question. You need not worry about the nature of the question. You simply examine whether sulfuric acid has been reduced. If so, normally it is acting as a oxidizing agent. So the answer for the question will be 2. That much about question number 1. Number 2. Which of the following pairs of orbital will be having electron density along the axis? Now regarding the notation of d orbital, whenever the notation is xz or yz, it all indicates the lobe is in between the 2 axes. You can take it like this. The 3 options possibly will be xz, xy will be there and yz will be. In all these, electron density will be midway between the axis. But if it is x squared, y squared, etc., it will be along the axis. So the answer will be definitely number 1. It also means one thing. When it is dz squared, it means positive lobe is along the z axis. But d orbital will have negative lobes. That will be perpendicular to this d orbital. So dz squared has got positive lobe along the z axis. That is the meaning. And regarding dx squared minus y squared, dx squared minus y squared, it also can be assigned a meaning. X squared indicate positive lobe is along the x-axis, and y minus y squared mean negative lobe is along the y-axis. Anyway, the electron density will be along the axis as per the question, so answer should be 1. Next one. Question number 138. The correct geometry and hybridization for XeF4. A simple question, XeF4 will have what type of hybridization? Calculate. Xenon will have 8 electron, 4 electron fluorine will supply a total of 12 electron, which will be 6 pairs. 6 pairs accommodated by D2sp3 hybridization, leading to octahedral geometry. Xenon will be at the center, and the 4 fluorine will be arranged at the corners of this square, and the remaining lone pairs will be direct line. So the shape of the molecule is square planar, but the hybridization will be D2sp3. So square planar, and sp3d2 or D2sp3 is not only important in this particular case. We have only one option, so it is option 2. It is square planar and also octahedral hybridization. Next question will be, among the following, which one is a wrong statement? That also is taken from chemical bonding chapter. You know probably very easily. You studied this standard notation like methane is tetrahedral, and this is a compound coming under 6th group. So whenever you get SeF4, compare with the another element of the same group, say sulfur, SF4, because you have studied this one. SF4, easily you have studied, and you know it has got a seesaw shape. So this is seesaw shape, so this also should be seesaw shape. It is seesaw, this is tetrahedral. And what is given there is SeF4 and CH4 have same shape is wrong. Okay. So the answer will be very simple question, answer 1. So this is one method. You will be studying probably the structure of PCl3. But in the question paper, what they do is, this will be replaced the next element, AsCl3. In many cases, they are actually giving a new question by changing the central atom. But answer you can obtain easily by comparing a structure similar to the same element. So selenium, don't worry about it, you take sulfur, okay. So the answer will be, wrong statement is 1. Next question will be, the correct increasing order trans effect. That is one of the question which is strictly out of syllabus. Anyway, because it is mentioned there, I will just try to answer it. You have probably known that there is a compound called cisplatin used in cancer chemotherapy. Cisplatin. The geometry of their compound is cis. You can have also transplatin. So in preparing cis and trans isomers of a square planar complex, you are actually using this principle of trans effect. Just to illustrate first. Anyway, first the answer I will give you, because that will make things simpler. The correct order, trans effect of cyanide is more than that of C6H5, more than Br minus, and more than ammonia. If you compare these ligands in coordination complexes, the answer according to the question will be this one. Cyanide more trans effect than phenyl, more than bromide, and more than ammonia. Actually, these need not be the group you are expecting. You can have groups like, for example, CEO, carbonyl group, Carbonyl group and cyanide are having almost the same trans effect. Okay. Some other some other year they may ask this question also by changing some particular ligand. So I will give you another list also. Carbon monos, carbonyl group is having almost the same trans effect as cyanide. But when you compare, this is slightly higher. That is why it is almost equal to. And this is more than phenyl group, CH6H5 group. And this will be more than nitro group. You know, nitro can act as a ligand. Then comes our famous, you are continuing actually, greater than the halogens. Halogen, their iodide will be coming first. Then comes bromide, then comes chloride. Fluoride generally will not be coming over there because when there is a fluorine bonding to the central atom, generally the compound will not obey these rules. That's why fluoride is not generally given. Anyway, this is chloride. And then comes pyridine can act as a ligand. Pyridine. Pyridine is more than ammonia. Ammonia trans effect and pyridine. Pyridine is more than ammonia. Then comes our famous OH minus, hydroxo. And finally comes water. These are the possible ligands you can expect in such a question. So here you are given cyanide coming over there, phenyl next one, then comes bromide somewhere here and ammonia finally. So even if some changes, you are coming across a question where you have got different types of ligand, we can make use of it. Anyway, what is the principle of the question? Suppose we start with a complex containing a central atom, say platinum, surrounded by 4 ammonia molecules. So ammonia acting as a ligand in this case. If the platinum is platinum 2, so there will be two counter ion of chloride. Write this complex as PET NS3 4 times followed by Cl2. So this is the complex part. Now when this is treated with a very concentrated solution of sodium chloride, because of the high concentration of chloride, chloride can replace ammonia. High concentration will give a particular reagent more reactivity, higher reactivity for reaction. The active mass of the chloride is very high, so it can displace ammonia. There is no problem for the first replacement. When one of the ammonia is replaced, whatever be that ammonia, compound is the same, platinum at the center, and ammonia, let one be here, second ammonia here, third one here. And then this ammonia replaced by chlorine, you are getting this substitute. So there is no confusion in getting the first replacement of ammonia. Whatever be the ammonia replaced, you are getting the same compound. But now comes the real problem. When the second chloride displaces an ammonia, there are two possibilities. One will be either this ammonia which is trans with respect to the chlorine, or this ammonia which is cis, which will be actually formed. You look at the series. Trans effect of chloride is more than that ammonia, means the ammonia at the trans position can be displaced. That is the way you take it. Very simple method. When chlorine has got higher trans effect, it means it can easily form the trans compound. So in this case, because chloride greater than ammonia, chloride can displace ammonia, giving the compound platinum at the center, chlorine 1, chlorine 2, ammonia and ammonia. You are getting trans product. The reason is chloride is having higher trans effect than ammonia. And the next example will be the reverse. We start with a compound containing chloride substituent. Start with platinum, let there be 4 chloride. So naturally this compound will have PET plus 2 Cl4 minus, mean compound will be, I'll write it here, PET Cl4 whole 2 minus. So its counter ion should be something like potassium or sodium. So this is the complex considered. Now you replace it ammonia. You put it in aqueous ammonia, fairly concentrated ammonia solution. As usual, first chlorine replaced. First chlorine easily replaced. Platinum, this chlorine will be replaced by ammonia. Let it be so. Chloride, chloride and chloride. Again, The same case, what will happen if the second ammonia attacks this? Will it give you trans compound or cis compound? You apply the same rule. The trans effect of ammonia is less than that of chlorine. So ammonia cannot give the trans compound, ammonia will give the cis compound. So in this case, the final product obtained will be platinum here, ammonia will be positioned at cis locations. So in one case you are getting cis compound, other case you are getting trans compound. That is how you make use of that particular rule. That effect is called trans effect. Okay. So this is only one example. You can have more groups here. You can start with cyanide or pyridine or whatever be the group you have, bromide, etc. So depending upon this, what is the meaning, effective meaning of trans effect? If the trans effect of one group is more than the other, that group having higher trans effect can easily produce a trans isomer. That's all. Now the next question. So this question is actually strictly out of syllabus. Anyway, I answered it. So what is the answer? Yes, answer I gave option 4. Question next. Which of the following statement related to lanthanum is incorrect? Actually, all options are correct here. That year in 2016, this is given as a bonus. All of them will be getting the same one because all are correct option. So no comment required. It's a descriptive question. See, one point regarding this compound is Ce+4. It is steric. It's a very powerful oxidizing agent, almost comparable to potassium dichromate. But Ce3 plus is a reducing agent. Ce4 plus oxidizing agent, Ce3 plus reducing agent. I just write it only to show one thing. When you compare this with ferric, this is Ce3 plus, this is Fe3 plus. You can expect a statement like this. Ce3 plus and Fe3 plus are acting as oxidizing agent. There may be wordings like this. That's a wrong statement. Ce3 plus is reducing agent and Fe3 plus is oxidizing agent because it can undergo reduction to Fe2 plus. So these two symbol, you can expect them together and statement may be like both Ce3 plus and Fe3 plus are oxidizing agent, wrong. Both are reducing agent, also wrong. The correct is Ce3 plus is reducing, Fe3 plus is oxidizing. So in this case, all are correct. So no answer given. Next question, Jahn-Teller effect. It is this one that is again out of syllabus. It is actually out of syllabus. But what is that effect? You studied crystal field theory of coordination complexes. There, you know the d orbitals are split up into two groups in the presence of the ligands. The two groups of orbitals are marked EG and T2G. An octahedral complex, the 5d orbital, D is the right one, will be split up into T2G and EG group. And in actual practice, T2G generally will be having same energy. It will be lying below EG level. EG will be 2. So two sets of orbital will be going up and three sets will be coming down. That is what is called d orbital splitting. And this energy difference is called delta O, crystal field splitting in octahedral complexes. Now in this question it is given, it is a high spin complex. What do you mean by high spin complex? High spin means as far as possible electrons are unpaired. High spin means high spin magnetic moment. That is possible only when pairing is avoided. So high spin means maximum number of electrons are lying in unpaired manner. How is this possible? It is possible only when this is very low, when delta O is very low, very small. Electron easily will be occupying all the d orbital. Now the given condition is high spin complex. It means the splitting is very low. Now try to accommodate electron. What is the D4 configuration? D4 will be 1 electron, second electron, third electron. And because this difference is very small, Next electron will go over there. So that is D4. One more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What about the next one? Next one is D9. So, assume 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, again 6, and 7, and 8. It is D9 mean one of them will be paired. D9 configuration will be like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. What I mean is, this is actually having only one electron out of the two Eg orbital. So this can have theoretically two configurations. Either this electron can be there or on the next one. You can actually, this electron may be placed either on this level or in this level. This is what is said to be a degeneracy of this Eg level. Here also there are two possibilities. One electron can be here or here. In that case, what this electron, suppose it goes over there. There are two possibility. Two possibility mean that is also degenerate. And remember one point, whenever there is degeneracy, question is, Jahn-Teller effect is not observed. So to that the point is given here. Whenever this d orbital splitting results in a degeneracy in orbitals, there is Jahn-Teller distortion. It only means the regular octahedral complex will not be formed. That will be slightly distorted. Generally, the axial bond will become longer. That's all. The complex will have a shape slightly distorted from regular octahedral shape. That effect is called Jahn-Teller effect. For you, that may be sufficient. So this degeneracy of this d orbital will lead to Jahn-Teller effect. This degeneracy also will lead to Jahn-Teller distortion. What about D7? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. 2 plus 2 plus 1. Here also there is degeneracy because this one electron can be either here or here. So this also can have Jahn-Teller diffraction. But D8, when it becomes D8, the 8th electron will be coming over there. So only one possibility. There is no degeneracy. Mean no. So your answer will be this one. The fourth option. D8 cannot have Jahn-Teller. So even though it is slightly out of syllabus, easy to get an answer. You allowed the electron according to the given condition and see whether there is degeneracy. That is possibility of different types of arrangement, either in T2G or EG. If there is a possibility for two types of arrangement, it is called degeneracy. It becomes actually the Jahn-Teller distortion become possible. So the answer is obtained easily by this method. Write down all electronic configuration, and in all cases where there is degeneracy, the distortion will occur. When there is no degeneracy, it will not occur. So the answer is the fourth option. That is the next difficult question. So that also is covered. Next question. Very simple. It is, which of the following can be used as halide component for Friedel-Crafts reaction? You know, chloroethene. Chloroethene is CH2 double bond CHCl. It is vinyl chloride. You know, in vinyl chloride, due to resonance, this bond is having double bond character. Therefore, if you are using aluminum chloride as the catalyst for Friedel-Crafts reaction, this aluminum chloride cannot split this chlorine to give a carbocation. So this cannot act as a reagent that can supply carbocation. Isopropyl chloride, CH3, CHCl, CH3. Very simple it is. Easily that chlorine will go and this will give Friedel-Crafts reagent. Chlorobenzene exactly similar to this one. In chlorobenzene, due to resonance, chlorine benzene ring bond is having double bond character. So this also cannot give a carbocation. Bromobenzene also cannot give. So your answer will be only isopropyl chloride can give Friedel-Crafts reaction. That is the answer. So that halide can give Friedel-Crafts reaction. Next question. Which of the following molecule, all atoms are coplanar? If you expect 100% accuracy in question, there is no answer there. But it's roughly you can have an answer in this case. All atoms should be in the same plane. That is what is meant by the question. Here it is benzene ring. You know, in benzene ring, it is a planar molecule with all the carbon atoms and hydrogen atom length in the same plane. So that is right. In benzene ring, it is it's a highly planar molecule. All the 12 atoms are lying in the same plane. But when you attach another benzene ring, when you attach another benzene ring below this one, you attach another benzene ring, it will be there. All the atoms in this ring also should be lying in a plane. But the problem is, this being a single bond, it can actually rotate. So this can be in the same plane as the Bohr's plane, but this will be slightly, it is possible that it can have a rotation. So actually the second ring, it is an aromatic ring and it can freely rotate with respect to this plane. So all the atoms need not be coplanar always. Only in one configuration, conformation, where all the atoms of this ring and this ring are lying in the plane, the question will have an answer. Anyway, this is the answer taken, because at least in one conformation, all the atoms are in one plane. But in the other cases, so answer will be this one. But what about this one? Here nitrogen carbon bond is triple bond. So nitrogen carbon, 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 nitrogen carbon, this carbon also, all are in the same plane. But it is a CS3 group, tetrahedral. So that cannot be in the same plane as the Bohr's plane. This of course it is not possible. It is CH2. CH2 means hydrogen will be upward or downward. And also one more thing, it is not having a planar structure. It is having chair form. Here also it is chair and boat form. So it is chair form. So this cannot be the answer. This cannot be the answer. This also cannot be the answer. So this at least has one conformation where all atoms are in one plane. So take it as a compromise answer. Or the wording of the question should be, in which of the following molecule all atoms are coplanar at least in one conformation. In that case, this will be the correct answer. But so don't expect 100% accuracy in a question. You have to read it out and give a possible answer. That's all. Okay, next question, number 145. Which of the following structure represents nylon 66? You know, it is hexamethylene diamine condensing with adipic acid, and both contain 6 carbon atoms. So directly you can get the answer. Hexamethylene diamine contains 6 carbon atoms. See, hexamethylene diamine starts like NH2. Then you have got CH2, 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 like that 6 carbon atom. 3 plus 3, 1 more. And NH2. Adipic acid will have HOOC here, followed by 4 CH2. CH2, CH2 and COOS. So naturally when they condense, water is eliminated from here. So in the long polymer chain, this also will not be there. One hydrogen will not be there. So it goes like NH. Then CH2, actually it is 6 times. This one, followed by again NH. Then comes this one, CO. Then comes CH2, how many? 4 times. Out of this 4 times, and CO. This is the general structure. And this structure is given in which option? This cannot be the answer. NH2 is not occurring as a branch. NH2 cannot occur as a branch. So out of these 2, it's not possible. What about this? Here also. So if there is an answer, it should be like this. You just go through the option. You get the easy answer here, because NH2 in this polymer is not occurring as a branched part. So this cannot be the answer, this cannot be the answer, this also cannot be the answer. So if there is an answer, it is this one. And see, verify whether it is correct or not. It goes like this, CO. So CO is there. Then CH2 4 times. It is given just to confuse you. CH2, CH2 twice means CH2 4 times. CH2, CH2 twice means CH2 4 times. So this is the answer. Here also similarly, CO followed by NH, CH2 6 times and NH. So the answer is 2. A question from polymer. Next one is pyrrole. You know pyrrole is aromatic. This molecule is aromatic, and you have studied the resonance in pyrrole. In pyrrole, lone pairs are engaged in resonance. But in resonance, what is happening to the electron? Lone pair will be shifted here. And this electron will be coming over there, and this electron will be accumulated at this corner. So this corner is a corner where there can be high electron density. But the opposite transfer is also possible. So the opposite way if you proceed, here also there will be excess electron. So high electron density expected at 2 and 5 position. So the answer should be 2. In pyrrole, second and fifth carbon atoms are having maximum electron density. Next one. Question is rather simple. Which of the following compound will not produce propene by reaction with any method available? It can be elimination or addition or something like that. This compound CH2 double bond, C double bond O, it is called actually ketene. Ketene. It is actually the dehydration product of ethanoic acid. And ketene contains only 2 carbon atoms. See, the question is very silly. What actually is expected is you have to obtain propene. Propene contains 3 carbon atoms. This one gives only CH2 double bond CO. So it cannot give propene. Direct answer is there. The reagent is HBr. Therefore, your answer should HBr or bromine. Anyway, you got it. But in this case, propene you cannot expect. But in all other cases, you can get propene. How it is possible? CS3, CH2, CH2Br. You know, by elimination you can get beta elimination. Br and H will be eliminated. You will be getting propene. This cyclopropane is a highly strained ring. Probably you have studied in hydrocarbon chapter, cyclopropane. It appears as a saturated compound, but it can easily add bromine or HBr. So when you treat it with HBr, what happens is the strained bond will be broken and Br will be there, H will be on the other carbon, leading to CH3, CH2, CH2Br. Exactly similarly, if you treat it with the bromine, one bromine will be there, second bromine will be there. So cyclopropane, it is a strained ring. So whenever it gets an opportunity, easily that ring will be broken to give a stable compound. So this also can give propyl bromide, which after this it will be undergoing elimination to give propene. And this compound is alcohol. Treatment with HBr will give propyl bromide, or even with sulfuric acid elimination you can get propene. So propene possible only with 2, 3 and 4, not possible with 1. Answer is 1. Compound is called ketene. Next question will be, which one of the following nitro compound does not react with nitrous acid? You know the principle of reaction of nitrous acid nitro compound. It goes like this: primary nitro compound and secondary nitro compound, they will react with the nitrous acid. That's all. CS3, for example, CS3, CH2NO2 can react with nitrous acid using one of this hydrogen. What happens is nitrous acid will react like this, HONO. And elimination of water using one hydrogen from here and another from here, it will give a compound CH3CH. OH is gone as water, remaining NO and NO2. If secondary also there will be one hydrogen. In secondary nitro compound it is CHNO2 followed by CH3. Here also there is one hydrogen, that also will be used for reaction with ONOH. So in this case actually there are 2 possibilities, but the major product is the reverse one. Because there are 2 hydrogen atoms there, Actually, here reaction takes place as ONOH, and H2 and O will be eliminated, giving NOH. A two possibility, but the major will be there. But in this case, it will be HONO. And we take it like this: primary and secondary nitro compound will react with nitrous acid. Tertiary cannot react. So here we have a tertiary nitro compound that cannot react. So answer will be 1. Unless there is a hydrogen on this carbon bearing NO2, it cannot react. So see whether that hydrogen carbon attached to nitro group contains a hydrogen. In primary and secondary there will be hydrogen, tertiary there is no hydrogen, so it is not possible. Answer is 1. Next question. It is from biochemistry. How is the hereditary character, the bio secrets, genetic codes is transferred in our body? It goes like this: DNA will be actually having all the hereditary characters. During protein synthesis, it will be transferred, it will be copied down to RNA, and RNA will transfer it to next protein. So the order will be DNA to RNA, RNA to next protein. So the answer taken is 2. That is it. That order: DNA, RNA, carbohydrate. Now here you have got a compound containing CHO and so many alcohol. It's actually a carbohydrate by definition. Carbohydrate contain, they are actually polyhydroxy aldehydes or ketone. Here it is a carbohydrate. And in carbohydrate, the notation D means, which what is the meaning of D notation in carbohydrate? Because the answer contains D and L. Very simple idea. You write down the molecule and then see how many asymmetric carbon atoms are there. Like this. You consider the molecule, write it like this, and you start from the aldehyde group. This is the first asymmetric carbon atom, this is the second asymmetric carbon atom. Find out the asymmetric carbon atom farthest from the CHO group. So this one. On this, suppose OH is on the right side, that will be called D. If OH is on the right side, you call it D. If the OH is on the left side, you rewrite like this: CHO. It will be OH here, H here. This will be like OH and OH. It will be CH2OH. Because OH is on the left side, which carbon atom will be considered? Carbon atom which is asymmetric, farthest from CHO. So this will be called L carbohydrate. This will be D carbohydrate. So that itself will give you two choices. This will be a D isomer. This also should be a D isomer. And this is a, because OH is on the right side. Here it is L isomer and this is also L isomer. That is number 1 point. In some cases, you may get the answer from this itself. First to D and next L. But you have got two possibilities. So you should know one more thing. The name erythrose is given to that isomer where OH is on the same side. Erythrose. If they are on opposite side, you call it triose. So this is D-erythrose. This is D-triose. This is L, same side mean erythrose. And this is L-triose. So what is the option? This will be the option. D-erythrose, D-triose, L-erythrose and L-triose. So option 2 is the answer. That way you proceed. In this reaction, what is the product be? It's a modified Fourier-Crafts reaction, slightly modified. Aluminum chloride we are replacing with another Lewis acid, HF. We start with cyclohexene, and let it react with HF. HF provides H plus electrophile and F minus nucleophile, HF. So first H plus will be added, producing a carbocation with the structure. At any one corner you can put A plus. So this is the carbocation generated in this step. Okay. Next will be you have got aromatic ring benzene. This carbocation can attack this. Just like a CH3 plus carbocation attacks benzene ring in normal Furel-Claude reaction. This carbocation can attack and you can get it attached to this compound. So it is this corner, let it be attached to the cyclohexane part. Let this corner be attached to cyclohexane part. So you are getting the product of this structure. And what will happen to the hydrogen atom originally there? Originally hydrogen atom is there. That hydrogen atom will be coming to this and producing again HF. Okay, so very simple it is, a carbocation generated by addition of H plus will displace hydrogen from here, that's all. In this compound, because you have got H plus, F minus, HF etc., you can expect a species HF2 minus formed during the reaction. That's why it is called a modified reaction. Now, what will happen if I am starting with this compound? Let us consider the compound obtained by addition of HF to this compound. When HF is added, F will be at the one corner and the other hydrogen will be added there. So you are getting fluorobenzene. But even if fluorobenzene is formed, the reaction can occur because HF can actually attack this, producing a stable HF2 species. HF2 species is highly stable because of the possibility for hydrogen bonding like this. It's a stable species. So even if some fluorocyclohexane is formed, you can again have this carbocation generated because of the possibility of formation of HF2 minus. Actually, but this will be sufficient. Additional H plus will give carbocation that proceeds to the cyclohexyl benzene formation, and the H ejected will be combining with fluorine giving HF. But this also is a possibility. Anyway, the answer will be therefore this one. Next will be given nitrogen containing aromatic compound reacts with SnCl2. Stannous chloride HCl is either stannous chloride HCl or tin and HCl, both are effectively used. Is a standard reducing agent for aromatic nitro compound. So in this case, here got a CN group. CN group will be reduced to CH2NH2. This one. But CONH2 will be reduced to CH2NH2 again. Reduction will be removed with that oxygen. This will not react with SnCl2, no further reduction. But here this will be reduced to aniline. So in the first two cases, you are getting benzylamine. And the last case you are getting aniline. There is no reaction there. So which one is actually formed? That can be obtained by the second statement. And the compound obtained B on treatment with phenol after which reaction HNO2 etc. That all indicate it is diazotization followed by coupling. It's a characteristic reaction of aromatic amines. So what should be the answer? This will be the answer. A very standard method of detecting nitrobenzene in a reaction. Nitrobenzene treated with tin and HCl, followed by addition of some nitrous acid or sodium nitrite acid. And final step will be add some phenol and alkali. If you are getting the color of a dye, it indicates nitro compound. So in organic chemistry, it's a standard test for nitro compound. What about these two? This compound treatment with nitrous acid will give only alcohol, no diazotization, followed by coupling possible with benzylamine. It is aliphatic amine. This alone is aromatic. So answer is 4. Next will be consider reaction CH3, CH2, CH2, Br with NaCN. It also is a very good question. See, it's a primary alkyl halide. CH3, CH2, CH2Br is a primary alkyl halide reacting with NaCN. Effectively, cyanide is attacking it, leading to replacement of bromine with cyanide. Definitely it is a SN2 type reaction. You know, SN2, SN1, SN2. And you know that in SN2 reaction, the best solvent will be polar aprotic solvent. Best solvent for SN2 reaction will be polar aprotic solvent. Slightly polar, that will be sufficient, but should be aprotic. And for SN1 reaction, it is the reverse. It is also polar, but protic solvent. That is where the difference is. So suppose you have got alcohol as a solvent, it will be most suitable for SN1. Alcohol is a protic solvent. And what is the aprotic solvent given there? NN dimethyl formamide DMF. Formamide is H. Formamide is actually the amide of formic acid. So how will you write it? Formic acid amide. HCO, OH is formic acid, amide is HCONH2. But it is NN dimethyl mean replace this hydrogen with amine group. So it is HCO followed by nitrogen on which you are substituting which group? Dimethyl. So it is CS3 and CS3. So this has got polarity, but it is aprotic. So the answer will be NN dimethyl formamide. What is the question? Consider the reaction, and this reaction will be faster in. What is the answer? Correct answer? Polar aprotic solvent. This is the answer. Another solvent can be CS3, COCS3. This is also a polar aprotic solvent. So many are there. So the answer is this one. Next question. See, palladium on carbon, otherwise called palladized charcoal. Palladized charcoal. It is partially deactivated palladium, similar to Lindlar catalyst. And what is the peculiarity? You know, Lindlar catalyst can reduce C triple bond C to C double bond C only. Lindlar can reduce alkyne to alkene, not further. But this one, palladized charcoal, can reduce conjugated alkene. There is a conjugated alkene given there. What is that? This one given is a conjugated alkene. See that? Double bond, single bond, double bond. It is a conjugated alkene. Palladized charcoal can reduce not simple alkene, but conjugated alkene. So this double bond will be reduced by this hydrogen. And after reduction, the compound obtained will be, of course, this one. So the answer is 4. So point is, even though Lindlar catalyst cannot reduce alkenes, but conjugated alkene will be reduced by Lindlar catalyst. Here it is given palladium carbon, call it palladized charcoal, partially deactivated palladium. It will be reducing conjugated alkene. So the answer should be, after reduction you will be getting option 4, cyclohexanone. Which one cannot have tautomerism or can have tautomerism? Remember, all are containing C double bond. But one thing, when you compare this compound CS3CH double bond, after this tautomeric exchange of proton, this become one H will coming over there and double bond will be coming over there. The product becomes CH2 double bond CH and OH. That is, this is an sp2 carbon and this is also an sp2 carbon, and this is a planar carbon then. sp2 carbon is planar. So what will happen if this undergoes tautomerism? If this undergoes tautomerism, the structure is like this. It has got a CO arranged like this. One proton is ready there, but if the proton is transferred here, there will be a double bond coming over there, and this carbon has to assume a planar structure, which is not possible. Either this carbon or this carbon will have this double bond attached. Once it is having a double bond attached, it should be planar, but the geometry of the molecule does not allow planarity. So tautomerism not possible. Here the problem is there is no suitable hydrogen. No hydrogen here, no. There is a hydrogen there, but this also cannot have a planarity because of this geometry. But in this case, there is no problem. This hydrogen can transfer here and double bond can be shifted over there. It is on the same ring, you can have a planar structure there. So the answer should be 3. Question is only 3. It can have tautomerism, only this one, because planar carbon atom is not allowed by first and second one. Answer is therefore 3. Next question. Regarding acidic character of carboxylic acid. It's not benzoic acid, it is cyclohexane carboxylic acid. Very simple concept of inductive effect only. When we are attaching a group with minus psi effect on this, oxygen is having minus psi effect here, the acidic character will be increased. So this and this, 2 and 3 will be more acidic compared to 1. But out of this, which will be more acidic? The group should be nearer to COH to have more effect. So in this case, oxygen is nearer to COH, in this case is slightly far away. So most acidic will be 2, then it will be 3, and finally 1. Most acidic 2, 2 greater than 3, greater than 1. If the question is correct order of strength of the acid. So should be 2 greater than 3, greater than 1 mean answer is 4. Simply based upon minus psi effect of oxygen. Next question will be a compound that will react most readily with gaseous bromine. You are given certain formulae, but the formula will give you the type of C4H10 is saturated. It will undergo only substitution. C3H6 is alkene, C2H4 also is alkene. C2H2 will be alkyne. So the question is, first part, will alkene react faster or alkane will react first or alkyne? Out of alkane and alkyne, the most reactive you should be thorough with. Remember, it is alkene that are most reactive. Alkenes are most reactive when you compare all the 3 types of hydrocarbon. Then comes the next question. There are 2 alkenes, propene and ethene. But remember, in propene, when bromine or something is added, you are getting a carbocation first. And that carbocation will be stabilized by CH3 group in this case. For example, what is the reaction with? It is bromine. So bromine C plus will be added there. When bromine plus is added, the carbocation obtained is CH3, CH plus, CH2Br. It is added on this terminal carbon so that you are getting more stable carbocation, and this is stabilized by the presence of 3 alpha hydrogen hyperconjugation. But in the case of ethene, that is not possible. Ethene is the carbocation CH2 plus CH2Br, which is not at all stabilized by any such effect. So the most reactive will be answer 3, propene. Next one. Which of the following compound shows presence of intramolecular hydrogen bonding? Within the molecule there should be hydrogen bonding. The answer will be definitely cellulose, because it's a carbohydrate, and by definition of a carbohydrate, you know it is polyhydroxy. It is polyhydroxy carbonyl compound. The presence of polyhydroxy group within the same molecule leads to intramolecular hydrogen bonding. You can have a doubt regarding hydrogen peroxide. That is not possible because hydrogen peroxide has got a open book structure. These hydrogen atoms are far away and the distance is not favorable forming internal hydrogen bonding. But in the cellulose, we have got so many OH on the same molecule itself, so the answer is 1. Simple, no, don't confuse with H2O2. Then comes next question, molar conductivity question. You are given the specific conductance or conductivity kappa of a solution equal to 5.76 into 10 raised to minus 3 Siemens. That is the kappa value. And you are asked to calculate molar conductance. Molar conductance lambda will be equal to, you know the formula, kappa into 1000 by molarity. 1000 by molarity. Directly substitute 5.76 into 10 raised to minus 3 into 1000 divided by molarity of the solution is 0.5 molar. Simply substitute and you get the answer 4. You see the answer. Just application. See, such question where you are going to use only one formula and direct substitution, simplification. It is supposed to be a simple question. But even then there are 3 methods by which you can go wrong. Formula you may go wrongly right. Next substitution, unit may not be correct, and finally simplification may be wrong. Even then you have to be very, very careful about it. Simple question, apply using one formula. Next question number. Decomposition of phosphine. See, it's a slightly modified way. You know, already you know, decomposition ammonia on tungsten is a zero order reaction at high pressure and first order reaction at low pressure. They have changed ammonia to phosphine. That's all the question. And low pressure it is first order. But the question is why it is so? Again very simple. Suppose this is the catalyst surface area. At low pressure only small number of molecules are there. So the rate actually depends on the number of collisions on the surface. That is pressure. So when each one will collide and there is a vacancy here, you can have a occupied surface. Only when adsorbed by the molecule, the catalyst, it can undergo decomposition. So the rate of reaction is directly related to the area which is covered by the phosphine molecule. Area which is covered by the phosphine molecule. Of course, that is proportional to pressure. So the relevant answer will be rate is proportional to the surface coverage. So this is the answer. Next one. Coagulation value. In the case of arsenic sulfide salt, the salt given is arsenic sulfide. You should know it is a negative type colloid. In the case of negative type colloid is a cation of the added electrolyte. That will be important. But you are given the flocculation values are given. That is, what do you mean by this? In the case of magnesium sulfate, the value is only 0.22. Even that low concentration will cause coagulation. But for barium chloride, you have slightly more value, 0.69. And for sodium chloride, it is 52. That means you have to add more sodium chloride. So the most powerful in precipitation will be magnesium sulfate. Question is correct order of coagulating power. Maximum for magnesium sulfate 3. And then comes barium chloride 2. So 3 greater than 2 greater than 1. Answer is 1. Coagulation value low mean coagulating power very high. Next will be during electrolysis of molten sodium chloride, the time required to produce a certain amount of chlorine, 0.1 mole of chlorine. What is the method of calculation? You know, for chlorine formula Cl2. And if you are producing chlorine from chloride, this will be the reaction. That means 2 negative charge should be removed to get 1 more chlorine. That means 1 more chlorine is formed from 2 Faradays of electricity. Each electron corresponds to 1 Faraday per mole. So 1 mole chlorine required 2 Faraday mean how much chlorine is required? Only 0.1 mole. So 0.1 mole chlorine required, 0.2 Faraday. Now this 0.2 Faraday, you have to convert into coulombs. Then only you can calculate the time. 1 Faraday mean 90,500 coulombs. So 0.2 Faraday mean 0.2 into 90,500 coulombs. That much electricity should be passed. Theoretically, from the product, amount of product, you are calculating the amount of charge required. Now the thing is, you are using 3 ampere current. So what should be the time required? The amount current is, the quantity of electricity is also equal to the product of current and time. So this should be equal to Current and time mean 3 ampere into time required in seconds. So in second the time will be T equal to 0.2 into 90,500 divided by 3 second. Convert this into minute by dividing with 60. So that way you get an answer which is 4. It will lead to 110 minutes. Slightly less, but the answer will be 110. 1 Faraday, 90,500 coulomb. Current into time is the same, so equate and you get it. On simplification, you get this value. Next will be how many electrons can fill in the, or say tricky question it is. How many electron can fit in the orbital for which n equal to 3 and l equal to 1? You need not consider number of electron accommodated in a subshell. What is given is a subshell. Something described by principal quantum number and azimuthal quantum number is a subshell. Question is not how many electrons are accommodated in that subshell. It is an orbital. That's all. In an orbital, whatever be the subshell, orbital can accommodate only 2 electrons. Not more than that, it is possible to have. Actually, it is a 3p orbital. It's a 3p orbital. But you already know if you take it as a 3p subshell, you may go wrong, the answer will be 6. That is where it's a tricky question. Description is that of a subshell, but the question is that of a orbital. How many electrons in an orbital? But so whatever be the subshell, an orbital can accommodate only 2, so the answer is 3. Next question is from thermodynamics, a ready-made formula for entropy calculation. When a gas expands, the entropy change is given by one formula. Applicable formula in this case is delta is equal to nr log, either it is V2 by V1, final volume by initial volume, or the reverse, initial pressure by final pressure. nr log, but it is final by initial, so that cannot be the answer. nr log, initial by final, so the answer is 4. Usually you are studying the formula in terms of volume, so it is nr log V2 by V1, but in terms of pressure it should be P1 by P2. Direct question 4. Next will be the Van der factor. Van der factor for electrolyte is easily calculated by this method. See how many ions are produced by one molecule. How many ions are produced? If the electrolyte undergoes 100% dissociation, how many ions are produced? That is what is called Van der factor. So in this case, it is the electrolyte is barium hydroxide. Barium hydroxide can dissociate into 3 ions. It is 1 cation and 2 anions. That is what is called Van der factor. Therefore, the answer will be 3. Again, simple question. Next will be the percentage of pyridine. Only slight variation in wording. The percentage of pyridine that form pyridinium chloride in a pyridinium ion in 0.1 molar aqueous pyridine solution. See, consider this similar to ammonia. Ammonia salts can undergo hydrolysis. Pyridine can actually react with water giving. This is pyridine. C6H5N is, no, not C6, C5. Pyridine C5H5N. It can actually react with water, giving the corresponding cation C5H5NH plus OH minus. So in this reaction, question is what percentage of pyridine is converted to ion? This reaction unit is called hydrolysis, because water is decomposing this hydrolysis, and effectively the question is what is the percentage of hydrolysis? That's all. And the ready-made formula for calculation of percentage hydrolysis, degree of hydrolysis equal to root of Kb by C. Kb by C. Degree of hydrolysis is Kb by C. If in an acid substance, it will be Ka by C. So calculate root of Kb given as 1.7 10 raised to minus 9 divided by C mean concentration of salt is 0.1. So it is root of 1.7 into 10 raised to minus 8. This 0.1 cancel. This will lead to 10 raised to minus 2 and square root of this will be around 1.25, 1.3. 1.3 10 raised to minus 2 is the value of alpha. 1.3 10 raised to minus 2. But the problem is you have to calculate the percentage. Mean multiply to 100. You have to what is it actually? It is, oh, here there is something wrong. It is not 10 raised to minus 2, it is 10 raised to minus 4. It is 10 raised to minus 4. So this is 10 raised to minus 4. Convert this into percentage mean multiply to 100. So the answer will be 1.3 10 raised to minus 2, which is around 0.13. So the answer should be 4. So what you have to consider is pyridine reaction with water, and that reaction is called hydrolysis. And hydrolysis, degree of hydrolysis is given by root of Ka by C or Kb by C. And you directly apply this, finally convert this into percentage by multiplying with 100. So answer is 4. Next will be calcium fluoride crystal structure. Calcium fluoride has got a crystal structure which is FCC type. There, actually every calcium will be surrounded by 8 fluoride and every fluoride will be surrounded by 4 calcium. That's the way it goes. It is what is called fluorite structure. In fluoride structure, the calcium will be surrounded by 8 fluoride ion, whereas fluoride will be surrounded by only 4 calcium, and that is what is called coordination number. So what can be the answer? Around calcium 8 mean, question is should be in the order calcium followed by fluoride. So first will be 8 and then will be 4, answer is 1. It is called fluorite structure, that's all. Next will be the D4. E0 cell for a given reaction has a negative value. E0 cell negative means reaction is not spontaneous. So naturally delta G of the reaction will be positive. Only when EMF is positive, delta G will be negative. Spontaneity of a cell means either delta G should be negative or E should be positive. Here it is given E is negative. So cell reaction will not occur spontaneously. So delta G should be positive. Delta G positive means this is the applicable thing. Here also you have got delta G positive. But what is the next one? What about the next one? Because there is a relation delta G 0 is, what is given here? Delta G 0 is positive. So write like this. But there is a relation delta G 0 equal to minus RT log K. And using this equation, when this is positive, log K should be negative, then only overall value will be positive. Log K will be positive only when K is, it is 2.03 log. K is less than 1. So the applicable answer you can take delta G 0 greater than 0, K equilibrium less than 1. Answer 4. 35. Which of the following is incorrect for ideal solution? For ideal solution, delta H mixing 0, delta U mixing 0, but delta G mixing cannot be 0. That is because it will mean whenever you are mixing two solvent and suppose they are spontaneously mixing up, process is spontaneous and this should be negative. So the wrong thing is delta G cannot be 0. Delta G should be negative. It is there that you have got a wrong answer. 36 is solubility of AgCl. It's a typical question, very often asked in such examination. You know, AgCl dissolves as Ag plus and Cl minus even though it is a sparingly soluble salt. It's a sparingly soluble salt, but whatever portion is dissolved, it will dissociate into silver and chloride. So if the solubility is yes, all this dissolved salt will be converted to S moles of silver ion and S moles of chloride ion. And the product of these two values, Ksp, will be equal to S squared. Actually, there is a definition. Product of concentration of silver ion and chloride ion will be Ksp. And in this question, Ksp is given as 1.6 into 10 raised to minus 10. But problem is, what is the chloride concentration? You are trying to dissolve this silver chloride in a solution of sodium chloride and its concentration is 0.1. You are actually starting with sodium chloride. Already you have got 0.1 molar chloride ion there. See, in water when silver chloride dissolved, you get equal concentration of these two. But if you dissolve the same silver chloride in sodium chloride, you cannot expect the same chloride. Already we have got a large concentration of chloride. So the effective concentration of chloride is chloride obtained from sodium chloride, which is 0.1, plus chloride obtained by dissolution of this salt. But you know, when the concentration of chloride is sufficiently high, solubility of this will be depressed and the contribution of silver chloride towards chloride concentration is negligibly small. So as far as possible, you can take the chloride concentration as 0.1 in this case. But silver concentration will be directly equal to the solubility, yes. That means in a higher concentration of chloride, silver will be correspondingly very low and that value will be solubility. So Sc equal to 1.6 10 raised to minus 8, 10 raised to minus 10 divided by 0.1, which is equal to 1.6 into 10 raised to minus 9. That answer will be there. What is the effect working out is common ion effect. If you have got excess chloride in the solution, solubility will be depressed. So chloride concentration will be taken as that concentration of chloride present in sodium chloride. Replace chloride with 0.1 and then calculate concentration of silver, which is effectively the solubility. Answer is 4. Next question number. Suppose elements X and Y combine. It's a mole concept question, very simple one. You have got a compound with the formula. There it is, X3Y2 and XY2. One is XY2 and the other is X3Y2. And they are given the molecular weight, effectively they are given the molecular weight. You know why? What is given is, how much? This is 0.1 mole of XY2 weighs 10 gram. So 1 mole should weigh 100 gram. So XY2, 1 mole will weigh 100 gram. That is the molar mass. Similarly, 0.5 moles of the second compound weigh 9 gram. So this has got a molar mass of 9 divided by 0.5, which is equal to 90 divided by 0.5 equal to 180. See, effectively they have given the molar mass of the compound. You already know the molar mass now. XY2 100, X3Y2 180. Now have a simultaneous equation. The atomic mass of X, let it be X itself. So molar mass of this compound should be X plus 2Y. That is equal to 100, where X and Y respectively represent their atomic masses. And this will give 3X plus 2Y. Atomic mass are X and Y. That should be equal to 180. These two equations you can easily solve. So you get X equal to, just below this you write 3X plus 2Y equal to 180, subtract. So 2y cancel, you get 80, 2x equal to 80, x equal to 40. X equal to 40 and then you get y equal to 30. Answer will be this. So the only thing is, they have given the molar mass, but not directly, it is indirectly. Apply this principle, you get the answer. 38. The number of electrons delivered at the cathode during electrolysis of a current of 1 ampere for 60 seconds. Very simple it is. it makes use of the principle, namely 1 Faraday equal to 90,500 coulombs. And 1 Faraday or this much coulomb contain Avogadro number electrons. 1 Faraday constituted by Avogadro number of electrons. So make use of this principle. How you can make use of? You are passing 1 ampere for 60 seconds, mean the number of coulombs passed is 60 coulombs. This is the electricity you are passing, charge. If it was 90,500, it would have been Avogadro number. So effectively, how many Faradays are there? 60 divided by 90,500. 500 Faraday. 90,500 Faraday will constitute Avogadro number electron. So how to calculate? 60 coulomb constitute how many electron? 60 by 90,500 into Avogadro number. Or rather you write 6 into 10 raised to 23. And that will give you the answer 6 into 10 raised to 20. That's the way you would. I think it is 10 raised to 20. This, it will be, or how much it will be? 6 into 6, 36. So around it should be 3. So your answer should be 1. It will not be fourth one, this will be the answer. That is it. So 1 Faraday, 90,500 coulomb, Avogadro number electron. That relation you have to remember. So 60 coulomb, how many electron? That's all. This ratio will give you the answer. Answer is 1. Next will be boric acid is an acid because boric acid is H3BO3, also written in the form BOS thrice. When it reacts with water, product will be H plus and BOH 4 times minus. So how is it acting as an acid? Not directly by providing proton, by accepting OH from water. So accept OH from water and releasing proton. That will be the answer 1. First year simple question it is. 40th question will be AlF3 is soluble in HF only in presence of KF. You know the compound formed when aluminum fluoride, HF and KF, they are actually mixed together. The complex formed will be K3AlF6. That's all. Nothing else. Simply they will be combining like this. Only one possible answer, therefore, K3AlF6. You can take it as a question from metallurgy even. There you are using the same principle. You are electrolyzing this. You can actually electrolyze this compound to get aluminum. Next will be zinc can be coated on iron. It is something related to galvanization of iron. But the wording is a bit confusing. What is actually meant is iron can be coated with zinc metal so that protection of iron will occur. But zinc cannot be protected by coating with iron. That is the actual principle behind this question. Why it is so? Actually, you can coat zinc on iron or iron on zinc, no problem. But the protection will not occur. That is the idea, because it is something related to galvanization of iron. So wording is a bit confusing. Don't think it is impossible to plate one on the. By electroplating method, you can actually coat iron on zinc. So that is not the idea behind this. You can coat zinc with a layer of iron, or you can coat a layer of iron with zinc. By this coating of iron on zinc, you cannot protect zinc. But by this coating of iron with zinc, iron coated with zinc, protection will occur. But zinc coated with iron, protection will not occur. That is the idea behind this. Okay, so it is so. The answer is zinc has got lower negative electrode potential. That means zinc is highly reactive. So whenever electrons are taken away from this electrode, zinc will supply the electron, keeping iron intact. So iron cannot undergo corrosion. So the relevant answer is this one. but the wording is not actually perfect. It don't take it as a coating using electroplating method. It is possible. But galvanization, that wording is there. It means protection of iron with zinc. So read it as protection of iron with zinc is possible, but protection of zinc with iron is not possible. That is because. That should be the correct wording. Answer is zinc is having lower negative potential. Therefore, it is more reactive. What is the solution called? This solution, suspension of slaked lime in water. It is lime chemistry. You know, this is called quicklime. When water is added to make it CaOH2 powder, you call it slaked lime. When this is put in water and stirred well, you are getting milk of lime. That is the answer here. And if you keep that solution as such for a long period, you get a clear solution called lime water. So what is the answer here? Suspension of slaked lime in water. That means what will happen when you are adding calcium hydroxide in water and stir it? You keep it as a suspension, not a solution. Here you call it milk of lime. It is having milky color. Quicklime will be CaO. Okay. The clear aqueous solution of calcium hydroxide is called lime water. And the milky solution, suspension, is called milk of lime. In this case, the answer is therefore 1. 43. Hybridization of atomic orbitals of nitrogen in NO2. Standard question. NO2 unit is a linear molecule. So sp hybridization. NO3 will be, it is O minus double bond coordinate bond triangular molecule sp2. And ammonium will be tetrahedral. 1, 2, 3, 4 hydrogen. Hydrogen, hydrogen, hydrogen. So tetrahedral. So the answer is sp. sp2 and sp3, which is 1. Direct question, very simple. 44 will be, which of the following fluoro compound is most likely? It's a very good question. You know, which can act as a, what is the question? Most likely to behave as a Lewis base, not Lewis acid. BF3, you know, it is a Lewis acid. Lewis base should be capable of accepting electron pair or donating electron pair. You should be very clear about it. Base will donate electron pair. Boron does not have electron pair to donate, but PF3 has a pair of electron. PF3 is similar to PCl3 will have a pair of electron. So the answer can be only this one. Silicon, carbon, etc. will not have the electron. PF3 is your answer. It is Lewis base, electron pair donor, only PF3. 45. Which of the following pairs of isoelectronic and isostructural? You count the total number of electrons and then see whether they are having the same shape. The answer will be 3. I'll show how it you are good. Carbonate is having total number of electron will be 6 electron carbon, 3 into 8, 24 electron for oxygen, plus 2 electron gain from somewhere else. So total will be 24 plus 32. Nitrate similarly will have NO3 minus will have nitrogen 7, oxygen 3 into 8, 24 and plus 1. So both are having same total number of electron. And what about the shape of the molecule? Both are triangular planar. Carbon, double bond oxygen, O minus, O minus. Nitrate I already gave you N, O minus, double bond, coordinate bond. So isostructural and isoelectronic. The answer is 3. Then last question will be the context with, in context with beryllium. Which one of the following statement incorrect? Beryllium salts are actually undergoing hydrolysis easily. For example, beryllium chloride can react with water easily. Because beryllium has got vacant orbital, it can easily take up water. And the easy reaction will be BeCl2 plus 2HOH will give 2HCl and BeOH twice. That is what is called hydrolysis. So this is wrong. The others are correct. It is rendered passive by nitric acid. Actually, it is concentrated nitric acid, similar to aluminum. It forms beryllium carbide, correct. And it hydride electron diffusion also is correct. So the wrong answer will be this one. So difficult questions are there. Even then, always what I say is, you leave that difficult question. You at least will save some time, and also will not be having any negative mark. Don't lose your confidence when you find a difficult question. You leave it, that's all. Okay, thank you.